Hey broadcast team, welcome to Camera 2 training. Let's get started. So Camera 2 is a mounted camera in the back corner of our auditorium, and it's up on a platform that looks like this. You're going to move your camera around with the tripod arm here. You can adjust the lateral resistance of the tripod here, and you can adjust the vertical resistance of the tripod here. Your zoom control can be found on the tripod arm here with a thumb lever. And on the side, you'll find a couple switches, one for zoom direction and one for the zoom speed. Your aperture, your focus are going to be controlled like any of the other cameras. Check out our basic camera training video for that. And then lastly, there is a side monitor. It's just a little bit bigger, a little nicer view that has a focus assist with a red outline to let you know what's in focus, and also a rule of thirds guide to help you frame your shot. So Camera 2 is our establishing shot. And that just means that it's a big, wide shot that establishes for the viewer some context of where they're at. So when we go to smaller, more focused shots, they have a better understanding of what they're looking at and how it all fits in together. The three main camera maneuvers that you're going to be doing on Camera 2 are 3 Ps: pushes, pulls, and pans. So let's take a look at number 1, pushes. A push is a zoom in. It's called a push because you are pushing the frame in tighter and tighter. You're going to be doing this shot a lot in a lot of different contexts, but it is particularly good in going from a big, loud moment, like a big chorus or a big bridge, into a quiet moment where the band has kind of cut out and it's just a vocalist. Next are pulls. Pull is the opposite of a push. You are pulling the frame out. You are zooming out. And you're going to use this shot a lot as well, but they are best utilized as a song is building momentum. It's going from quieter to louder. Lastly are pans, and pans are more of a neutral shot. They don't really convey building or releasing like a push or a pull do, so they're best used in consistent moments like the middle of a chorus or a verse. Now let's talk about a couple key things that make these shots work, and those are framing, movement, and timing. First, let's look at framing. All of the framing done on Camera 2 is going to fall on a spectrum between 2 main shots. Your first shot is the biggest and widest shot you have of the entire stage. This is as wide as you are ever going to want to go on Camera 2, and if you look at the rule of thirds, you'll see the bottom third is the congregation, the middle section is the band on stage, and the top section is the lights. This is how you're going to be framing all of your widest shots on Camera 2, and it is your first key frame to keep in mind for framing all of your other shots. The other key frame is a head to knee shot of the worship leader. If we pull up the rule of thirds guide, you'll see we want to keep the worship leader either on the left or right vertical guideline, and we want to keep their head near one of those top intersections. And the reason that you're going to want to be this close is so that we can do big, long pulls starting from here into a wider shot. So now with those 2 keyframes in mind, it doesn't matter how zoomed in or zoomed out you are on your camera, you'll always know that if you're zooming in, you'll be working towards that head to knee shot on the worship leader, or if you're zooming out, you'll be working towards that big, wide stage shot. So everything in between, you always know, whether you're pulling or pushing, which shot you're supposed to be moving towards. So what that means practically is that you're going to find yourself with a lot of shots that don't quite fit into either category. They're not framed for the worship leader or for the stage exactly, but they're always working towards one of those 2 ends. And so the way that we accomplish that is through good movement. The movement of Camera 2 is all about being slow, steady, and consistent. So that means on our zoom controller, we are always going to be on the slow setting for our shots. You can switch to a faster setting if you need that to set up your shot. But when you are live, when the director calls on you, you always need to be in that slow setting. Another thing you need to do to ensure smooth maneuvers is to check the resistances on your tripod. Again, you can find them here for horizontal and here for vertical. And you need to adjust those numbers to something that feels comfortable for you. If it's too low, it might lead to a shaky or uneven shot. And if it's too high, you might find yourself fighting the tripod in order to get it to move where you want. The last key element is timing. Timing is crucial for operating camera 2. And what I mean by this is that when the director calls on you, it's going to sound something like this. Ready, camera 2? Take camera 2. The ready is telling you to get your shot ready and to start your maneuver. Whether it's a push, a pull, or a pan, you need to start doing that maneuver so that when the director says, take camera 2 and cuts live to your camera, your maneuver has already started. What we want to avoid is this. Did you catch that jerky motion at the beginning? It's because the operator hadn't yet started their maneuver by the time the director cut to them. Now, this isn't always the camera operator's fault. Sometimes the director can cut too early, and that's okay. Mistakes are going to happen. But in order to try and minimize those mistakes, it's really important for camera 2 to be decisive so that when the director calls on them to be ready, they are already in a maneuver, they're already ready to go, and then once that take call is given, that they are sticking to that maneuver until the next camera is called. So that is the majority of what you need to know about camera 2, but there is one more element that needs to be discussed, which is transitions. If you've been a part of one of our in-person services, you'll know that on our side screens, we project our camera 1 shot so that people in the back of the room can see the worship leader or the speaker better. So what happens when we need to switch to another worship leader or another speaker? Well, that's where camera 2 comes in. This is a head-to-knee shot from camera 2 of one of the worship leaders. And at the end of the last song, the director gave them a call to get this shot so that by the time the transition happens, the next song starts, they are ready to switch to camera 2 in the house, in the auditorium, so that our camera 1 operator can have ample time to move their shot over to the next person, frame up, get focused, and then we can switch back in the house to camera 1, giving us a seamless transition. We also often have prolonged transitions in songs that have multiple worship leaders. So there are songs that we have to switch back and forth between those two worship leaders. And so for prolonged periods or even an entire song, there are going to be times where camera 2 needs to track a worship leader just like camera 1 would. And to learn more about that, please check out our camera 1 training. And that's it. Thanks for watching.